Alright, what's up guys? I'm here today with my 04 TJ Jeep Wrangler. I got a crack in my radiator. I'm going to go ahead and change that out today and give it a couple shots on what I'm going to do exactly to get it out and put the new one in. Okay, so it's got the 4.0 inline 6. Cracks right on top of the radiator. So, got the hood popped here. You can see right here, got that kind of different coloration and everything else. There's a crack that runs right there. Whenever it gets hot, it opens up and starts spraying. You can see all the residue that dried on the intake and the engine and stuff. So what we're going to go ahead and do is start pulling this apart. Now, looking at it, you got your fan shroud right here. I'm gonna, I think there's enough room. I'm gonna try and pop the fan shroud to the, and push it back, and then I think I should be able to pull the radiator out from there after I pop the, the hoses off and stuff, and unbolt it. So we'll get in there and check it out. Okay, this is the new radiator I got. Got it at O'Reilly's. It's about 140 bucks. Just a basic stock replacement. I didn't see any need to, I never really overheat or anything like that. Never had any problems with my stock one, so go ahead and put the same thing back in there. Pretty much, you can see right here at the top, that's where one of your hoses connect there, and you have another one down at the bottom. I have an automatic transmission, so you can see here, this is for your transmission fluid cooler. Right here's a petcock. You can let the fluid out. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is, I'm a little bit more impatient, I'm gonna pop this bottom hose off right here and drain it that way. Just gets a little bit more flow coming out than the petcock right here. So I'm gonna hop up underneath the Jeep. See, I got a bucket down there. Catch all that fluid. Trying to find a place to be able to dump my my fluid, and apparently none of the auto parts store. If y'all have any recommendations on where to get rid of the fluid, I'd love to hear that. Also, another little obstacle I have is I have a transmission, like an external auxiliary transmission cooler right here. I recommend that to anybody who's running an automatic transmission with large tires and does any kind of off-roading. The life of your transmission is keeping it cool. Overheating is just a killer for an automatic transmission. And any extra strain you put on it, having big tires and going in the mud or crawling or whatever you do with your vehicle off-road, I definitely recommend a auxiliary transmission cooler. So right now I'm hopping in the Jeep and go ahead and pop that hose off, start draining my fluid out. Okay, I'm underneath the Jeep. You see over on the passenger side is the petcock. Right here on the driver's side is, you got your hose coming right here out the radiator, and you have your line here and your line here for the transmission. So that's gonna be kind of tricky without getting fluid everywhere and losing all my transmission fluid. Try and get something maybe to pinch my hoses off and go from there. Alright, I went ahead and took my channel locks, tongue and groove pliers, squeezed the clip, slid it back on the hose a little bit, and the hose pulled right off and drained it all here into the bucket. A little bit to wipe up off the concrete, but let it finish draining, then I'll start taking some more apart on top here in a second. You can see right here, these are the clips I'm talking about. You kind of just take your channel locks, compress that, and wiggle them back right off the end of the spout here, and the hoses pull right off. See, there you go. Slid the clip back, hose slid right off. Now you want to make sure if your hoses are dry rotted or cracky or not pliable like this, you want to make sure you change those hoses out. But this one seems in pretty good shape, so I'm gonna go ahead and reuse it. You can see over here to remove the shroud, you got your little overflow hose. You got your little tank right here, and there are some bolts right here that go into the shroud. I don't know if you probably can't see them, but there's one right here. You can probably see the little screw in right here of that, more like a screw than a bolt, but it's got a hex head on it. And so there's 1, 2 on this side and 2 on this side, so I'm gonna pop those off and push that shroud back. Okay, I went ahead and popped this overflow jug out. You see there's kind of like a little button right there in the middle. You just kind of push on that and that releases it kind of back, and you can pull it up out of there. That just made it way easier to get to those bolts. Plus you kind of need it out your way anyway. And yeah, it was just 4 bolts. See right here, magnetic trailer, great, recommend it to anybody. Now the fan shroud is loose. Okay, here looking, the fan shroud pulled back. You can see there's some more bolts holding the radiator in. There's 1, 2, and then 1 way down at the bottom, 3 on each side. I'm gonna go ahead and pull those out. Now I do have my automatic transmission line still hooked up. I'm not too worried about it right now. I remember whenever I hooked up my transmission cooler, it didn't leak very much, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm just going to kind of pop them off and prop them up in an up position where they kind of don't leak. Okay, I went ahead and pushed the little bar back, the little clamp back on that transmission line going in there. I couldn't get it off the barb right here, so I had plenty of extra line, just went ahead and cut it. Once I pull the transmission out, I'm gonna most likely reuse those little barbs there to put the lines back on, but we'll decide that when I look at them and see what kind of shape they're in. And I just went ahead and stuck the line coming from the transmission, actually from the cooler, just kind of stuck it up there in the engine area. Doesn't seem to be dripping at all. Very little came out of the radiator here. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to this side and do the same thing, and then I should be able to pull my radiator out. Alright, once I disconnect those transmission lines, the radiator pulled straight up. No problems at all, pulled right out very easily. Got laid on the ground over there. You see a little evidence of mud riding. That probably wasn't too good for temperature. Couldn't really see that mud down there, but it was hot. Okay, so my idea of reusing the old bar was a bust. I went to try and put them into the radiator, and it just didn't fit, it didn't match up. The reason I didn't know this was because the radiator I bought did not come with the replacement fittings. So I went and run back to the O'Reilly's with my receipt, talked to the guy at the counter. Of course, there are some fittings that are supposed to be in the box, so he went and gave me the pack of fittings that come. Looks like I'm going to be using these right here. These are the most similar to what I was using before. So I'll pop my hoses on there and clamp it on there. This looks like maybe for another series, I don't know, maybe the Rubicon or something like that has a special clip. Looks like a fuel line type thing, but yeah, so I'm gonna be using these right here, and gonna button those up. It has an O-ring and it's like a little pressure fitting. I don't see no reason for a Teflon, it's a brass, so I'm gonna go ahead and screw those in and slap my radiator back in place, slide it down in the slot, and start hooking everything back. Alright, so I got my fitting screwed down in place down there. I'm gonna go ahead and slide the radiator down in place, and then go ahead and screw the screws, the little bolts, back in place on both sides. Once I get it bolted down, I will put my shroud back on and then start connecting all my hoses at that point. Okay, I got everything hooked up, all the hoses top and bottom, everything's bolted back down in place. Got my auxiliary transmission cooler back mounted again. Now, when you go to put fluid in there, you want to use, so I use right here G-05, so it's recommended for the for this vehicle. You want to mix it about 70-30, 70% antifreeze, about 30% distilled water. You want to use distilled water. Don't use water hose. It's full of calcium and chlorine and all that stuff, which makes it build up in your coolant system. You don't want all that. So you want to put it in there. Start with the. You'd be good just putting a whole gallon of the antifreeze and then adding distilled water afterwards. Now, if it's been a while since you had new fluid, I would recommend changing the thermostat out right here. It's just 2 bolts. You can see it runs off your main line here from the top of your radiator. It's just 2 bolts. You back it off. New thermostat's just a couple bucks. You get a gasket with it, a little RTV. Pop that on there. I would recommend a new cap also, and that's always good to do, to get a new cap. You know, springs wear out and stuff like that. Now, when you add in the antifreeze, you want to fill it up. Then you want to run it with the cap open. You want to make sure you kind of pump on here. That kind of gets all the air out. If you do have, especially if you open up all the other parts, like the thermostat and all that, if you lose suction, your engine will actually idle high. Instead of idle around 600-700, it'll idle around 1500, and it just leads you to looking at all kind of stuff like out of control sensors, which is not. It's just the fluid in the system. This has air in it. You need to get all the air out, work it all out, pump the hoses, run it, and eventually get all the air out, and you'll see that your idle will go back to normal if you do have that problem. I have had that problem in the past before. I shouldn't have it now. I didn't take the thermostat out or anything, so I'm just going to fill it up with the antifreeze and distilled water, and I should be good to go. Thank y'all for watching. Hope this helps somebody out. If you have any comments or questions, I'll try and answer all questions, and try and get back to you that as soon as I can. If I don't have any, I'll try and recommend you to go to somebody who does have the answer. But thank you for watching again.